This is Big Podcast.
Way back in the day, talking about 20, 25 years ago, the beginnings of what I would consider the commercial internet, the web, when that really hit and it got out of colleges into the mainstream public. You would see people doing all sorts of things to get traffic to their sites. One of the things they would do, and there are variations of this, but when sex, S-E-X, was the number one search term on the web. Hard to believe, right? It seems so innocent now. People would put that word all over their website at the very bottom. If the background was white, they would make the text white. Bots would see it. Consumers wouldn't see it. Or maybe they'd make it light gray. Or, they'd hide and they'd do trickery. And I've certainly seen that over the years in the entertainment industry. There's a joke, maybe you've heard it, of a band calling itself Free Beer. And, oh yeah, free beer, great. You go to the venue expecting a beverage and you get a band called Free Beer. Anyway, talking about trickery, going to dive a little bit more into that on this episode of Build a Big Podcast, the marketing podcast for podcasters. If you want to grow your podcast, get more people to your podcast, make more money with your podcast, make a podcast that makes your mother proud, you are in the right place. My name is David Hooper. BigPodcast.com is the website. There's a written edition of this. It goes out every Friday morning, New York City time. You can find it at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 236. Here's what I'm talking about. Don't do this. 220 lifelike AI voices. It's a game changer. The lies podcasters tell themselves. I got 9 of them. Podcast artwork templates and more. Your favorite piece of gear. This episode of Build a Big Podcast is brought to you by Riverside.fm, a virtual studio that makes recording and editing at the highest quality possible accessible to anyone. You're going to get studio quality audio and video wherever you and your guest are, meaning you're in Nashville, Tennessee, like me. Hey, I'm in Nashville. You got a co-host in Chunky, Mississippi, a guest in Walla Walla, Washington. No problem. You're going to sound like you're in the same room. You're going to get instant transcriptions powered by AI with 99% accuracy. And you can edit your audio and video by editing that transcript just like it's a Word document. If you're just getting into podcasting, maybe you want to take out some bulk, 20 minutes of stuff that didn't work for you, boom. It's that easy with Riverside. They're going to make your social media clips so you can bring people into your podcast. It is everything you need to record, to edit, and to market your podcast. Well, not everything, but almost. It's going to give you a great foundation, and I want you to check it out for free. You can do that by going to riverside.fm, kick the tires, look under the hood, see how it works for you. They're going to give you a couple hours to play around, get an interview, get 2 interviews. It's enough time for you to see if you like it. And if you do, I've got a discount code for you. That's Big Podcast, BIGPODCAST. It's going to get you 15% off. That's riverside.fm, the discount code, Big Podcast, BIGPODCAST. You know how it works, don't you? You've been here before? All right. For those who haven't, let me give you a quick rundown. I'm going from thing to thing to thing. In between each thing, you hear this. That's how you know I've gone to the next thing. And that's how you know if you want links to videos, if you want links to images, if you want to see the story in the written newsletter, you can go to newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 236. Ready? Here we go. Don't do this. I saw a sign on the street this week. Actually, I saw several of them. What they call bandit signs. And you can see a picture of this. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 236. A bandit sign is, I guess they're made out of plastic. You'll often see them on corners of busy intersections, and they'll say things like, we buy houses, or cash for houses, a lot of housing kind of things, at least where I am. The other thing that I see here in Nashville, you probably know, we are Music City, USA. We got a lot of musicians here. And there are interesting ways that musicians promote themselves via bandit signs. What they're trying to do, probably get fans, but really get champions, people who work at labels, work at publishing companies. There was a huge event here last week called CMA Fest. Tens of thousands of people, maybe 100,000 people, I don't know. It takes over downtown. It takes over the surrounding areas. Anybody in the country music business is here for CMA Fest. People come from all over the place. So I'm seeing these signs. One of them says, my ex stole my dog. Help me get her back. QR code. That's it. No information on the dog. And I'm thinking, that sounds like a musician sign. I've been around the block. But I'm also thinking, what if it's true? What if there's a dog? Maybe I can help. I scan the code, and sure enough, it's an independent musician trying to get people to her Spotify page. And there's a message, and it says, "Gotcha. Thanks for your support." Is it clever? Maybe. Strangely enough, the other side of the sign, I saw that after the fact, and it says, "Are we dating the same guy?" and has a picture of a guy. Same QR code. Anyway, I found that more clever than the lost dog. I was like, oh man, don't bring my big heart for animals into this. And that's the point. Is it clever? Maybe, but it's also a good way to piss people off. Again, I'm in Nashville, and maybe this is a Southern thing, but something you'll also see here is dollar bills, or they look like dollar bills. They're fake dollar bills. You reach over to pick one up, and you're like, oh, it's a Bible verse. It's a Bible verse. They call it a tract, disguised as a dollar bill. And when that happens, I want you to think about it. You're walking down the street, you see a $20 bill, $10 bill, $5 bill, whatever. You think, oh man, that's some money. It's worth me bending over to pick that up. And you're excited. Man, I got some money. I didn't have money a minute ago. Now I got money. And you take people from that emotion, a happy, excited, cheerful emotion, into, I've been tricked. They're not going to be open to that message. Pulled up this lady's Spotify page. I was like, no, man, no, I'm not going to listen to your music. Not right now. I'm on the street. It wasn't a good place for me to listen to music. And even if it was, you feel like a sucker. Nobody likes to feel like a sucker. So keep this in mind with your podcast. The way we see this in podcasting, episode titles that have nothing to do with the episode. Or if it does have something to do with the episode, people aren't getting to the point. 5-10 minutes. Hey, how you doing? Oh man, how you doing? Catching up with a co-host. Not getting to the point of what the podcast is about or what the episode is about. How you been doing this week? Oh man, I don't know. The kids are out. It's going crazy. Tried to take them to camp, but the camp shut down, so now I got to deal with them. Not getting any sleep, And I hear stuff like this all the time. What are you guys thinking? Interesting to you, not necessarily interesting to other people. By the way, if you're interested in this woman's Spotify page, and if you go to newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 236, you will not find that link because I have blocked that QR code. I don't want you to feel like a sucker. And also because I'm petty. It's a good example of a bandit sign, though. If you want to see it, newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 236. Let's talk about Big Podcast AMP. AMP, it stands for Audio Monetization Program. And if you like the newsletter, you like the podcast, you are going to love Big Podcast AMP. It's a personal coaching program. It's going to help you do 3 things. 1, grow your podcast audience. 2, get people talking about your podcast. And 3, make more money with your podcast and your podcasting skills. There are a lot of companies right now hiring people like you, like me. They need you to basically program AI. So if you're good with emotion and delivery of spoken word, there's an opportunity for you. That's one of them. Now, as far as your podcast, there are opportunities in that too. Niche programming is hot. You need help taking advantage of those things, those God-given and learned talents that you have. Let's talk Big Podcast AMP, bigpodcast.com/AMP. That's bigpodcast.com/AMP. 220 lifelike AI voices. Well, speaking of AI, Google is the latest company to get into AI voices. It's got a text-to-speech tool. It's going to give you 220 plus. They're always adding to them natural-sounding voices across 40 plus languages and variants. It is worth a look. I like humans on my podcast. I hire real voiceover people, except sometimes you're in a pinch. You got something you want to get out that night. You can't hire somebody. You can't do it yourself. You need a different type of voice. AI is great for that. Those one-liners. I do them on here all the time when I talk about the Big Podcast supercomputer.
This is the Big Podcast supercomputer.
Something you can have fun with. Let people know it's AI. I mean, why not? Let people know it's AI. They're in on the joke. And if you want 220 lifelike AI voices, I have them linked. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 236. The lies podcasters tell themselves. Every other podcaster, not you, not me. I got 9 of these. I'm going to run through them. I'm curious if you've ever bought into any of these. Number 1 is the thought that having more time would allow you to produce a great podcast. Yeah, maybe. Or you could waste that time. You can still produce a great podcast without a lot of time. You do have to get creative. You've got to get good at your skills. You can outsource things. There's time, energy, money. Some of those things can be outsourced, but simply having more time, that's not going to make your podcast better by itself. And what I mean by this is not necessarily your day-to-day, daily, or weekly episode. But sometimes people think, I got 6 months to produce this documentary. That's going to be twice as good as me having 3 months. No, not necessarily. Sometimes having limited time, like we've got to get this out in 2 weeks. That's going to force you to get creative. It's going to force you to take action. So more time, not necessarily a better podcast, but that's number 1. Having more time would allow me to produce a great podcast. Number 2 is booking, insert guest name here, would make my podcast successful. It does not. I've seen more than a few podcasts pay what they consider to be a celebrity to do an interview. Not even a good interview. It's like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. You don't need other people to make your podcast successful. And just having somebody who's well known isn't necessarily going to make your podcast successful. I think we way overestimate how interested people are in celebrities. In fact, I've seen a lot of the bigger podcasters, maybe they learned this the hard way. They're saying, no, I'm only going to do 10% celebrity and 90% of people you never heard of because I want to dig in deeper. I want to tell those stories. That's what they're saying anyway. The issue that I think some of those big podcasters are going to find is that they've gotten lazy because they've brought in these celebrities. They've got people in the room that can control the narrative, that can hijack interviews, that have media training. And these podcasters, if you want to call them that, these guys interviewing other people, they don't have to do much work. That's one of the big advantages of being a small podcaster without access to big names, celebrities. You get good at doing interviews with people who don't have media training. Anyway, that's a whole nother episode, and I will do that, I promise. But number 2, let's look at that. Booking blank, guest name, would make my podcast successful. Not necessarily. Number 3, telling listeners your story will convince them to subscribe. I was in a Toastmasters group locally for several years, 5 or 6 years. And it was not uncommon, just about every meeting, somebody would come in and they'd been through something. A lot of people who'd had kids as teenagers, maybe. I just want to motivate people. I just want to let people know what can be done. They wanted to be a motivator, an inspirational figure for people. That's kind of old school. That's the kind of thing you would see maybe in the 80s. Somebody's just going to fire you up. Rah, rah, rah. Get that room going. But then when you leave the room, what is it? It kind of fades away fast. Regardless, there's still people around that think their story is somehow going to motivate others. Not really. We are in a self-obsessed society right now. Main character syndrome. And the internet has done this. Social media has done this. We've all got microphones. We've all got video cameras. We think we're the most important people on earth. So your story, not nearly as important to your listeners as their story. Telling listeners your story will convince them to subscribe? Yeah, probably not. But if you can help them to do something that they want to do, maybe. Number 4, an episode is either perfect or a complete disaster. This is something I'm going to talk about in the future as well, talking about mental health issues. And this is what I would call all or nothing thinking. Something is great or something is complete trash. Don't need it. All or nothing thinking, black or white, no gray area. The truth is there's a lot of gray area. I see this all the time when I do interviews and they're not really what I want. You might have been in this situation. You bring somebody in, it's like, I didn't really get what I want. There are probably clips within that interview that you can salvage, put your own commentary around it, make a good episode out of it. Very rarely is something perfect. Very rarely is something complete garbage. So an episode is either perfect or a complete disaster. No, That is the fourth lie that podcasters tell themselves. Number 5, producing good episodes isn't possible without blank, insert piece of gear here. Man, I can't do this without an RE20. That's how I got my RE20. Yeah, you can do it without a piece of gear. I set up this studio in my house with the very minimum amount of gear. I got a couple of ATR 2100 mics. They were $40 at the time, $50 at the time. I got a very inexpensive interface. I don't even remember what it was, but definitely not the Focusrite that I'm using now or one of the better interfaces that I've had. I recorded on Audacity, free software, which I still do, by the way. Audacity is great. So don't think that free is necessarily bad. But on the other side of that, don't think that spending money is necessarily going to get you a better product. It's skill, it's your story, it's your knowledge, it's your ability to deliver a message. Equipment, after $50 or $60 for that ATR 2100 mic, you're not going to see a big difference on the next jump, which would be something like I'm speaking into, maybe a little less. Maybe there's a $300 mic, and then there's the $500-$600 mics. That's what the RE20 is. Then, of course, mics can be, $30,000, $40,000 if you wanted to do that. Most radio guys, about a $500 mic. If you got $60 for an ATR 2100, a Samsung Q2U, that's an alternative to that. You're going to be pretty good, and your podcast isn't going to be that much better as far as audio quality. So that's a lie. Producing good quality episodes isn't possible without a piece of gear. Number 6, a larger budget would improve my sound quality. Well, that's what I just talked about. Throwing more money at something, the $600 mic instead of the $60 mic, maybe a little bit. I mentioned a minute ago recording into Audacity. With that said, I do spend money on RX, Isotope RX. It's software that I use to clean up the audio. I don't know how much RX is. I've had the advanced version, and now I'm on the standard version because there's something called Dialogue Isolate that I use for my field recordings that moved to the standard version, and I no longer need the advanced. But that's a great example of that. I think the advanced version, maybe $1,200. Standard version, let's say it's half of that. And they're discounts, by the way, if you're going to get Isotope RX. Look for those discounts. You don't have to pay the retail price. But the point is, there are a lot of inexpensive plugins. Spending more money isn't necessarily going to improve your sound quality. A lot of times it's simply the room, a quiet room. I'm in a closet right now, 5x8, and I'm surrounded by some panels that I made that are, $600 worth of panels. If I were to go out and buy them, they'd probably be $3,000 or $4,000. Rock wool panels. If you're interested in that, reach out to me on Blue Sky. I've got the link somewhere on the Big Podcast Instagram, Big Podcast 1, if you want to see how I did these panels. Anyway, larger budget will improve my sound quality. Not necessarily. Sometimes it's just a quiet room. And speaking of closets, a quiet room, it might be your closet. If it's got clothes hanging in it, perfect. Start there. Number 7, landing that sponsorship is the key to making my podcast thrive. Maybe. I think sponsors can sometimes show social proof that somebody believes in your podcast or make it seem like you've got something going on. But sponsorship and podcasting, yeah, there's money, but it's not like sponsoring, the Olympics. Nobody's throwing that much money at independent podcasts. There is money to be had. You will make money, but is that the key to making your podcast thrive? I doubt it. Number 8, pre-interviews aren't necessary. Oh, no. That is absolutely not true. Pre-interviews, that's going to make your actual interview 10 times better, even if it's just a conversation. Hey, man, got you coming up on the podcast. Just want to do a quick conversation. You up for that? 10, 15 minutes on the phone? Yeah, sure. Let's chat. Just getting to know somebody. It builds rapport, man. It's you talking to somebody during the interview that you've already met, that already knows you or feels like they know you. Pre-interviews, absolutely necessary. That is going to take your interview to the next level. Can you always do a pre-interview? No. Sometimes people won't give them to you. These celebrities that I'm talking about, but those celebrities, they've got media training. Those celebrities, they're used to hijacking a conversation and making it about what they want. You got to be on your toes. One of the things you can do for those guys, if you can't get a pre-interview with them, talk to the managers, talk to the booking agents. What is something that John Smith would love to talk about that isn't being talked about in his other interviews? What is something you find interesting about working with John Smith? Ask those questions. Do your pre-interview with somebody else, because you can still get good information from somebody who's an insider, not you. It's going to make you sound like an insider, though, when you get on that interview. Pre-interviews aren't necessary? No, they are. Number 9, getting in front of blank influencer name is essential for growth. No, it's not. Can it help? Maybe, but I've also seen a lot of podcasters get into this where they pay an influencer, hey, make this YouTube video, make this TikTok thing. The truth is, a lot of these younger influencers, yeah, they've got a big following, but they don't really understand why they've gotten it. Sometimes they're just there because of the algorithm. I've talked before about Bill O'Reilly on Fox News. The reason Bill O'Reilly was popular is because he's on Fox News. 7 p.m. in your living room, in a billion living rooms. Doesn't matter who they've got on. That's why when he had sexual harassment stuff, they just hosed the mic off and put somebody else in there. And then when that guy, Tucker Carlson, had a problem, hosed the mic off, put somebody else in there. It doesn't matter. And sometimes these influencers, they're in a situation like that. The algorithm did its thing. They're just there. They're not that good. They're not going to connect with people in the long run. And when they disappear from the algorithm, they disappear altogether. Podcasting success, it doesn't come from external factors like gear or guests or influencers. It comes from creating consistently valuable content that resonates with your listeners. That's it. These things that I'm talking about, thinking you've got to have a certain type of mic, thinking you've got to have a certain type of guest, thinking you've got to have a certain endorsement. Walk away from that, man. Think about your creativity, your preparation, your connection with listeners. That's what it's about. Once you shift your mindset on that, you embrace progress over perfection, then you can have a sustainable podcast. You can enjoy the process a lot more. I don't want to live and die by an algorithm. I had a buddy of mine, he's a songwriter. Did a lot of stuff for Alan Jackson, then he just walked away. I said, what's the deal, man? You had a pretty good gig going on. Millions of records sold, big hits on the radio. Still hear him on the radio. And he said, I just got sick of living and dying by the charts. They were going for hit after hit after hit after hit. He couldn't write the song that he wanted to. So he walked away. You may feel the same way. You can still do a great podcast without a whole lot of listeners. You just need some listeners, the right listeners. Lies podcasters tell themselves. If you want to see this in writing, I've got them. Also, more thoughts at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 236. Podcast artwork templates and more. This is available to you for free. It is from Apple. They just released this. New design resources, including downloadable templates. They've got best practices. They've got guides that will help you create podcast cover art that stands out, episode art that stands out, everything you need for a visual identity for your podcast. I've got it linked. It's at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. If nothing else, go there and get the updated specs for your art. Specs for art are changing all the time. And the reason for that is because the way we receive podcasts, the way people listen to them, that's changing all the time. So you want to keep on top of that. It's Apple's podcast artwork templates and more. I've got them linked. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 236. Your favorite piece of gear. This is it's an interesting question. What's your favorite piece of podcasting gear? I'm curious to know. You want to reach out to me via Blue Sky? You'll find the link to do that at newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 236. If I had $100 to spend on gear, I would get a Vocaster 1 interface from Focusrite and the mic that comes with it. There's a combination, about $100. That's going to get you everything you need to go into your computer, do remote interviews, do a solo monologue podcast. You can use it with Audacity, free software, about $100. If I had $1,000 to spend on podcasting equipment, I would get an RE20, which I'm speaking into now. I've got a piece of outboard gear, the DBX 286S, and that's a preamp. It's a compressor for that radio voice. That's what a compressor is going to do. It's a de-esser, takes that hiss off my voice. I don't have much of that, but some people need it more than others, and that can be helpful. It's got an EQ, and it's got a noise gate. That is very helpful because when you talk, you are breathing. And if you're a heavy breather, you sound like ludicrous, or you've been smoking some unfiltered Lucky Strikes for years. You got kind of an emphysema thing going on. A gate is going to remove some of those heavy breaths when you're not speaking. So you won't hear that at the beginning of words, not unless it's really loud like I did. But I'm breathing all the time, as are you. This is what they tell divers, ABC. Always breathe continuously. Same thing for you. We're doing it as podcasters. People get freaked out by breaths. Oh, you got to cut out all the breaths. No, you don't. When you cut out all the breaths, that can make listeners nervous because they're listening for breaths. We're listening for cues so we can jump in on the conversation. We don't think much about it, but people are breathing all the time when we're speaking to them live. So why wouldn't you have some breaths on a podcast? What you don't want is to sound like it's a dirty caller. Like, no. Make it conversational. You might want to remove them. I talked about RX, isotope RX. That can reduce breath noises, but why not cut them off? DBX 286S, that's going to do it. I don't know, $200-$300. I don't know what it costs now. So I got my mic, I got the DBX, and I would get a Focusrite interface. Either the Vocaster 1, the Vocaster 2. If I had two people, I use the Focusrite 4i4. I think that's about maybe $400. It's a little more expensive. You don't necessarily need it. I've got it because I've got a more complicated setup, meaning that I'm routing audio in different places. I've got it going to an external recorder. That external recorder needs to be split into different tracks. It's not worth going into now. The point is, most people don't need that. And that takes it back to what I said earlier. We've got all this expensive equipment available to us, but do you really need the features? Until you do, don't worry about the expensive equipment. The preamps in the Focusrite 4i4 are the same in the Focusrite Solo, the Focusrite 2i2, the lower end interfaces that are probably all you need. So could you do it for $100? Yes. Could you do it for $1,000? Yes. If you want to see exactly what I would do, I've got everything linked. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 236.
Yeah!
That is it. Another episode of Build a Big Podcast in the books. Thanks for hanging with me. Always looking forward to helping you. I love working with you to grow your podcast, get more people to your podcast, to make a podcast that matters. If you want to work with me personally, you can do that. Big Podcast AMP, AMP. It stands for Audio Monetization Program. You can find more information about that at bigpodcast.com/AMP. If you want to subscribe to this podcast, never miss an episode, and you do want to subscribe to this podcast, do this. Go to bigpodcast.com. I make it easy for you. One click is all it takes. One click for iPhone, one click for Android, one click gets you an RSS feed. However you get your podcast, I'm there getting it to you from the Big Podcast supercomputer with just one click. That's at bigpodcast.com. Thank you for listening to Build a Big Podcast. I appreciate you, and I'll see you on the next episode.